they asked and what they discovered may change your reality forever. We are asking you to be open to what you're about to view. Along the way, you will have the opportunity to choose what resonates with you and discard what doesn't. Enjoy.
We think it's concrete. We think it's reality, and it's not.
There is no physical universe. It's all being made up. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all an illusion that appears real.
But illusion is a great word, because if you look at the word illusion, it says ill is in you.
You are experiencing through form or through the illusion, you are experiencing a reflection of yourself.
Nothing means anything. It's all mystery.
What we find is an atom doesn't actually exist. It's elementary particles. Those elementary particles are actually potentials for existence.
Reality gets created through acts of observation.
You know, whatever an atom is made of, it's not made of matter. That's becoming clear.
The perceptual error that's happening is because of something going on inside of me.
Now I'm not here to say that events in a dream don't appear to happen, but that doesn't mean that they're real.
The actuality of what's going on is much of how we perceive this reality is an illusion.
So what does it look like to go beyond the illusion of reality?
That inquiry can change a life.
There really is no me, and there's no you, there's no we. There's just that experience of unity and oneness.
If you're an infinite godlike being with all this power and wisdom and abundance, and you want to play a game, you can't just play tiddlywinks. You'd be bored to death.
It's like in The Wizard of Oz when you look behind the curtain. It's that.
And the ultimate challenge was, can I convince myself that I'm the opposite of who I really am?
It's just something that's coming from your own unconscious mind, a projection that you're viewing with your conscious mind, and you made it up, and then you forgot that you made it up.
If we've been thinking a certain way for 30, 40 years, is it a matter of just changing it right then?
As long as you think the illusion is real, and you're the opposite of who you really are, there's going to be problems.
With inappropriate change in the perception of how this is actually going on, you can resolve your case of mistaken identity.
You'll feel better, you'll enjoy things more, you'll enjoy sex more.
Off the charts, amazing things become possible.
Answering those questions enables us to enter what reality is.
What if it were true? Would you want to make the leap?
For thousands of years, numerous philosophers, visionaries, and spiritual leaders have described our reality as temporary or illusory. How could it be possible that all around the world and through the ages, a similar story has been told?
Today, we still witness this concept through modern-day media. The books related to the topic of our reality being an illusion are endless.
Over 6,000 years later, we're witnessing a reemergence of what could be viewed as the oldest idea in recorded history. Why would this concept be reestablishing itself in the human consciousness now?
In 2006, without yet knowing one another, we each began researching this ancient idea that our reality is an illusion.
I was raised in a practical, non-spiritual, blue-collar world. My family's motto was, live a responsible and practical life. In early adulthood, I began having direct psychic experiences. Not being able to discuss this with my family and friends at the time, I explored and developed my abilities on my own. After 20 years in this mystical world, I knew there was more than meets the eye, but I sensed I had still not reached the core of what was really happening here.
I have a heavy science background. My father taught science for over 40 years. I began my research by looking to science to answer some of the tougher questions. Quantum mechanics tells us that the classical rules of physics break down at the level of the very small, at which point it becomes apparent that matter is not made up of smaller units of matter. All matter is just energy. At this level, electrons pop in and out of existence. Once I understood the basics of quantum mechanics, the question that haunted me was, how can I prove anything is real?
While we both dove deeper into our research, we met and instantly became friends. With our extremely different backgrounds, we decided to form a partnership and pursue the nature of reality as a team. We were inspired to document our research and shifted our primary focus to contemporary illusion supporters.
We initially believed it would be difficult to find many people that had journeyed into this realm. Through modern-day access to information, we tracked down key people in a variety of fields that we believed would be able to help answer the questions that had formed inside of us. These people rarely, if ever, communicated with each other. Many possess key pieces to the puzzle, while none of them entirely subscribes to our interpretation. One puzzle piece led to the next, and what we discovered will challenge even the most skeptical. Being a science guy, science seemed like a logical place to start.
So is the world really an illusion? Or is it my perception that's the illusion?
If we step back a little bit and look around, this experiencing that we're all having from moment to moment is as real as it gets, as far as we know. Where I step back a little further and say what is the actuality of what's going on is much of how we perceive this reality is an illusion.
That my perception is my reality, right? And yet my perception is always changing based on who I believe myself to be.
The idea that we see the world, each of us as human beings, do not see the world as it is. We see the world through a window, a muddy window, a distorted window of our own beliefs, associations, ideas, opinions about the world.
The world as we perceive it is constantly shifting and constantly changing according to our beliefs and the decisions that we make, not only about the world but about ourselves. That's why one person can perceive an event completely different than another person, because they're perceiving it through their own lens. So the question is, are those lenses reality? Is what's being perceived reality, or is there a deeper reality behind all of that that is creating what we perceive moment to moment?
The world is real, but only to the extent that you experience it. It's all happening within you. That's what counts, that's what matters.
There's a Serbian proverb that says, two men looked out of prison bars. One saw mud and the other saw stars. Both mud and stars exist. Both are real, both are illusory. And that's part of the paradox of our lives.
What you are is a inherited and conditioned neurology meeting life, having that lens on a situation that gets interpreted by your brain, and then you reacting to it. With an appropriate change in the perception of how this is actually going on, you can resolve your case of mistaken identity.
The world is viewed through perception, through a field of lenses, and because it's all from where we're sitting in any given moment. Whatever environment we've come from, whatever family we've come from, whatever experiences we've come from, we view through those lenses. And so then everything becomes a reality based on what we've come from in the past.
This reality that we're living in is a Newtonian world, and Einstein's laws apply at the very massive level and at the very minute level. In the experiencing of this living, in the unwinding chain of cause and effect, this is a Newtonian experience, and that's why you have to make sure that you look both ways when you cross the street, because we may all be made of quantum particles at the end of the day, but in this experiencing at this moment, they're very densely packed, and that car's bumper will affect you if you step out in front of it.
Well, your perception is going to give you your experience. You know, you're living your reality through your thoughts. Okay? You have a thought, and that thought is going to give you a perception. And that perception is going to determine your experience. And that experience is going to determine your belief. And that belief is going to reinforce the original thought you had. The whole idea is to go beyond thought. Perception is just another thought.
So from the conventional view, certain things are true. Accidents happen. Death is real. We are separate, individuated beings, physically, emotionally, and mentally separate from one another. That can be demonstrated. But from a transcendental viewpoint, we couldn't be anything but one. That which is never born never dies. We are the witness of it all, pure awareness or consciousness. From the transcendental view, no accidents, only lessons. Perhaps it's all predestined, who knows? This world is real, this world is illusion. Both of those things are true.
So it's clear that your perception creates your reality. Look at a rainstorm. The cyclist could view the rainstorm as a ruined day, while the farmer sees it as a blessing. While everyone interviewed believes your perception is an illusion, the vast majority also believe that our entire reality is an illusion. Let's take a look at what these people have to say about our world literally being an illusion.
So the question, is it all an illusion, is a very interesting one because it can be interpreted on so many levels.
Now, Albert Einstein said that, you know, a person's experience is kind of like an optical delusion of consciousness.
The idea of illusion comes essentially from the Hindu tradition, Maya, the word Maya, that the world is not as real as we think it is.
According to many great thinkers, you know, from the Tao to Plato to A Course in Miracles, that which is reality does not shift or change. Reality is a constant, where nothing in this world is constant.
It's something that's been talked about for thousands of years. There's been different names for the fact that this whole thing is an illusion. And there was no evidence at all. It was taught. It's not real and it's an illusion.
That what we thought was real, there's a lot more to it than what we originally thought.
The reality that you perceive right here is an outward projection of your internal state.
Our true reality has nothing to do with what we're seeing.
And so what does it look like to go beyond the illusion of reality?
The first thing you have to understand is what the world is. The world is not a place. The world is a state of mind. This thing that's left out of the equation, this observer, who is the observer? What is the observer? Is it just me, I, Fred Allen Wolfness that's the observer?
It's really simple. Nothing in the physical universe, or what used to be called, interestingly enough, the real world, is real. It's all made up. It's just part of the illusion. There's nothing here. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all just a movie made to appear real. And it's just off the charts that we could have created this illusion, make it appear real, and make ourselves appear to be the opposite of who we really are within it.
The universe began when nothing became aware of itself.
This infinite being, this godlike being that has more power, more wisdom, more abundance, more creativity than you can possibly imagine on your most optimistic day. And this infinite godlike being decided that it wanted to play a game, which is what I call the human game.
Life is an illusion doesn't mean life is without purpose. Life is an illusion doesn't mean that there's no point in being here. There's a huge point in being here, and that's to create. That's to experience life. And life as a game is an old motif.
We complicate the world, and we make this illusory world.
And it's a very hard thing to get your mind around because everything feels very real. I feel very real. You look very real to me. But what I'm really looking at is my experience of you is taking place on an internal level. So if I'm having some kind of concern about you, if I want something to change on the outside, I don't mess with the outside. That's like trying to wipe my mirror clean when I need to be shaved. What I need to do is look on the inside of me, change me, and son of a gun, magically, miraculously, the outer changes.
And that the last thing you want to hear is that it's all an illusion. In fact, that probably makes you angry to hear it because what you're experiencing is so powerful.
If you're an infinite godlike being with all this power and wisdom and abundance, and you want to play a game, you can't just play tiddlywinks. You'd be bored to death. If that kind of a being is going to play a game, it's got to be an ultimate game. It's got to be an ultimate challenge. And the ultimate challenge was, can I convince myself that I'm the opposite of who I really am? So in order to do that, you've got to create this artificial world, this illusory world, and pop yourself into the middle of it. And in this illusory world, you've got to convince yourself you're the opposite of who you really are. So that's where this whole illusion thing came from.
This world is just a story. And on one level, the story is a very real feeling. We're all having a human experience. On another level, it's just a story. Then you don't have to take any of it too seriously. And if you don't take any of it too seriously, it means that you're much more capable and well equipped to enjoy the ride.
Most people perceive that they are living as this body. They perceive that they are limited to the body. They perceive that they are living a world of separation, a world of duality. But when you understand the truth behind the form, and you understand in truth you are the formless, you are one energy. When you understand that that is who you are, then love is the experience and the expression of your life.
The truth can be heard in the dream. The truth is not in the dream, ever. You know, if you just remember that one thing, you'll save yourself a hell of a lot of time.
The way I look at it, there is a huge difference between thinking about something and analyzing something and having a direct experience of it. And from where I sit, there is no proof, there is no evidence that would really convince anybody that this whole thing is really an illusion. It doesn't matter who's talking, it doesn't matter how credible they are, it doesn't matter how scientifically objective it was proved.
The world is not being done to you. The world is actually being done by you. Right? It is not coming at you, it's actually coming from you. You know, it's kind of like a reversal of the way that the world traditionally thinks. And when you go to a position of being a cause instead of effect, then you're no longer a victim.
We perhaps look back at this much as we might when we wake up from a dream. And yet the interesting thing is that when you were in that dream, it seemed perfectly real. And therefore it was perfectly real, because it's really our awareness that makes something real, not the tangible proof.
It's simply about changing your experience back to what you really are. Or I'm not into like giving up, you know, the romantic walks on the beach and the beautiful sunsets and the lovely art and, you know, music. I've been a musician my whole life, you know, and I enjoy listening to music more today than I ever did.
Life is a game we play as if it matters. So there's that sense of the transcendent, that whatever we think is going on, there's a bigger picture going on, much beyond our understanding.
It is only when you are limited and your awareness is limited to knowing yourself as being the identity that you have fear come up, that you have judgments come up. How can you have judgment if it's all you? How can you judge something if you're responsible for everything that is taking place? There is no judgment, there is only acceptance.
You know, it's only a dream. You don't have to worry. You know, what you're seeing is not true. You know, it's just something that's coming from your own unconscious mind, a projection that you're viewing with your conscious mind, and you made it up, and then you forgot that you made it up.
Hang on, I'm looking at the carpet. It's very nice you got there. It's a nice carpet. Is that a Berber? It's a very nice Berber. I think I'd like to get some of that in my temple, you know. But I got the tiles in the temple, you know. Sometimes it's cold when you roll around naked doing naked yoga. I really like that Berber. When we're done, can you tell me your carpet guy's name? Okay?
As you've seen, many of the guides believe our reality is an illusion. In 428 BC, the philosopher Plato created a simple metaphor to explain what he thought reality was. It's called the allegory of the cave. The basic premise is to consider each of us has been a prisoner in a cave since birth. We're chained facing a wall. Behind us is a fire, and between us and the fire, puppets are moved around. The puppets create shadows on the wall we face, and we believe this to be reality. As you can see from your perspective, the prisoners had very limited knowledge of what reality was. Now consider if the prisoners were freed, they would discover their perception had been incorrect. They would believe now that the cave is what reality is. Again, from your perspective, you know there's still more to discover beyond the cave.
In the late 1500s, William Shakespeare said, "All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players." Had Shakespeare discovered something about the true nature of our reality? Perhaps a modern-day combination of these metaphors will help us discover what reality is.
Numerous contemporary philosophers have described our reality as that of a movie. What if our reality is much like a movie? Could we be some sort of actor playing out a script here?
Or maybe a spiritual being having a human experience. What if our reality is much like a Hollywood movie?
Suppose that you were in a movie theater and you're watching a movie about something really cool and you think to yourself, I'd like to do that. So imagine that you're sitting in the seat in the theater and you get up and you jump into the screen and you become one of those characters in that story up on the screen, or you become a new character that just got written in. And whatever the scene was in there that was taking place, whatever it is, you know, a sporting event or a business thing or a science fiction or whatever it is, you become part of that movie and you're convinced that you're the character that you're supposed to be in the story, and you're convinced that everything in that environment and that world is real, and you play there for a while. And then when you're done, you pop back out of the screen and you sit back down in the seat and you're in your normal life again. To me, that's what's really happening. We are creating these stories, we are creating these what I call total immersion movies with these very complex storylines, just like Hollywood does. And we create these elaborate special effects to make it all appear real, just like Hollywood does. And then we throw ourselves in the middle of them to have these amazing adventures for the pure fun of it. And that's what I really think is going on in what I call the human game.
You know, if you were in a movie theater and somebody up on the screen started yelling at you, you wouldn't take it very seriously. You know, well, that's what this movie can be like too. You know, somebody in the movie can start yelling at you, and you can just kind of like go like, you know, and not take it seriously.